Karthik is a celebrity transpersonal therapist and healer. He works with many well-known personalities as well as some leading business families globally. He's the founder of Green Aura Holistic and the Mind Engineering Program, with over 20 years of experience in meditation. His methodical approach is extremely detail-oriented, and he is a visionary transformer of lives. Welcome to Flow, Karthik. With that, I hand over to Neeta, for a great conversation with Karthik. The stage is all yours, Neeta. And Karthik. Karthik, you're on mute.
Yes. Hi, thank you so much for the lovely introduction. Please, Neeta. Yes.
Hi, friends. Thank you so much, Lubina, for this wonderful opportunity to be part of this very interesting platform today. And yeah, we're all under tremendous thunder and lightning in Mumbai. And I think we're enjoying it. So to start with, I was wanting to explain something very personal to me. You know, most of the time I was ducking in college. So when I was in college, my friends would say, you know, you're unnecessarily getting nervous. It's just your perception. You're not going to duck. And as time went by, one got married, and you know, in a relationship, when you have an argument with your spouse, the first thing they turn around and tell you is, I never meant that. It's your perception. So I really want to understand, what is perception, Karthik? Because I keep hearing it and it keeps coming to me every time.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. I'll come to that in just about a second. First, thank you for having me here, everyone. I'm both excited and challenged to be here. And I'll tell you why. Excited because I get to talk to all you lovely people about my favorite things, my subjects, spirituality, meditation, universe, and the mind. And challenged because what has taken me over 20 years to learn, practice, apply, Ljubljana wants me to share in an hour. You know? So if I'm doing a bad job, well, you know who to blame. Yes. So perception. I want to break down perception first. So I would need volunteers. I'd like to keep it interactive. Who would like to tell me what perception means, or who would like to articulate the process of perceiving? Can someone do that for me?
Can we have a volunteer from the audience? Anyone, please?
No one wants to talk. Why?
Armin?
People are there, but they're like 42 people. There's no free speech here. People have to participate.
Yeah.
The way something is interpreted?
Yes, that's correct. The way something is interpreted. Okay, so I want to ask you another quick question. Now, what can you define the process of perceiving? How many entities are involved when you perceive something?
Your senses, all your senses.
Yes, your senses. So, but fundamentally, there are three parties to perception. One is the one who's perceiving, okay? Then the object, which is what is being perceived. And then what you have is perception. So there are three parties to it. Because what happens is, when you're experiencing life, when you're perceiving the world, you think it is you. You know, it's very individualistic in nature, but that's not really true. It is only your perception. So perception is something that you have gathered from the environment. So what perception means, it is your interpretation of the world, but not in terms of what you think of the world, but what you think your world to be. You understand? So it's not the reality is not creating your perception. The perception is creating the reality. So for example, if you were to look at the world with binoculars, and if you put, let's say, red lenses into the binoculars, what happens? Your vision of the world is red. You see the world in a red color. But what happens when you change the color into blue, or maybe purple or green? What happens? The color changes, right? So perception is sort of your interaction with the world, and it is sort of a validation of your idea or the concept of self that you have, like this is me. So this validates that idea of self, kind of giving you an impression of what is right, what is wrong, what you like, what you don't like, what works, what does not work about people, circumstances, situations, climate, environment, world. So it's very individualistic in nature. So that's what really perception is.
So, I was reading something very interesting, which says that people see what they want to see, and what people see never has anything to do with the reality. So, it got me thinking, Karthik. I'm just wondering, does this so-called perception affect our reality?
Yes, definitely. Perception affects our reality, and I'll tell you why. And I'll tell you how. I'll take a scientific approach to it. In 1988, scientists concluded an experiment where what they did is they fired electrons into the walls through electron guns. Okay? And they placed an apparatus which was supposed to observe these electrons. And this apparatus had a model where you could enhance the observation and diminish the observation of the electrons. So what happens is when they put the apparatus into a higher mode of observation, they realized that the behavior of electrons, it changed. And when they diminished the observation, they saw that again the behavior of the electrons changed. So they concluded that the observation influences the observed reality. This experiment, if you have a pen and paper, maybe you can write it down. It's called the double slit experiment. It's one of the most intriguing and interesting concepts out there. This has changed the way people, scientists, they look at the world right now. So, saints and mystics and yogis have been saying this forever. If you feel, so what they tell you is that you are the creator of your own reality. If you look at Krishna had a conversation with Arjuna, and he said, "Main hi racheta hu," I am the creator. If you look at Aham Brahmasmi, I am the creator. Again, if you look at Tattvamasi, if you look at I am Atma Brahma, I am self, Brahma means creator. So all the saints and mystics have been saying this forever. And now the modern science has also found evidence, because modern science likes to kind of measure and replicate data. And if they're able to do that, then they believe in something, right? But among the modern psychologists also, there's a very interesting phenomena that's been often talked about. It's called the Pygmalion effect. Pygmalion effect, really, there's a very, very well documented research. It says, if you enforce your expectation into the results, there are 30 to 35% chances of you getting a positive result. And same goes the negative way. So that means is if you're expecting something to be that way, there is a 35 to 40% chance that it is going to turn out that way, whether it is negative or it is positive.
So, this is not something which is inbuilt in us, right? This is not something that we've grown up learning. And somehow, somewhere along the line, you realize that you kind of perceive things. It's got a perceived value in your mind, in your heart, sometimes in your thought process, in your creativity. Right. So, Karthik, tell me, how's perception actually formed? Because I find it strange that, we suddenly talk about perception, which was never there when we were young kids. We never spoke about perception till the time we went to college, and everything became about perceived value. And even today, when people are studying, it is a perceived value vis-a-vis the reality. So how exactly is this formed?
See, perception is basically formed, but perception is a combination of your values and beliefs fundamentally, okay? And how do you perceive anything? with your experiences, thoughts, and feelings. So what are we a product? So the person, this whole model of self concept that I've created for myself. Okay, what is this made of? It's made up of ideas, values, and beliefs. Now, when we came into this world, we had no means to perceive the world, right? We didn't know anything what the world was about. So what happens is we experienced, we felt, we thought, and life happened to us one way or the other. And everything that happened into our life created a sort of an impression, which the modern psychologists, modern science calls it psychic impression. The saints and yogis and mystics, they call it sanskaras. So based on these sanskaras or psychic impressions, we create an energy. This energy kind of gives birth to our perception. So essentially, whatever happened to you between the ages of 0 to 8, your perception about the world was already established. Now you're sort of looking at the world, you're interacting with the world through a preconceived notion. It's already established there. So perception is a set of beliefs. What is your belief about work? When you say that, what is your, for example, I'm often challenged with one of my teammates. He says, I'm working very hard. I'm working very hard. I'm a very hard worker. No, you're not supposed to work hard. You're supposed to work productive. You're supposed to work constructive. You're supposed to work easy, So this solidifies over the years, and it becomes sort of your perception of your belief system on how you see the world. In fact, just today, I was scrolling over Instagram, and there was a successful entrepreneur, and he was talking about work, and he was talking about, I've worked so hard in my life. I've worked so hard in your life. And, when you believe something to be, you're kind of projecting forth your energy into it, your vision into it. So it doesn't matter what you do in life, it is going to appear hard to you. Now, what is your perception about relationships? Are relationships hard? What is your perception about men? Women say all men are dogs, and then, crazy things happen to them. And talking about crazy things, what is your perception about love? That whole idea of being crazy in love. This is why people have failed relationships, because they want to experience craziness in love. And then you're wondering the person is stalking you or you're stalking them. Do you know what I mean? So love is not supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be sensible. It's supposed to be mature. It's supposed to be responsible. So you're already coming. Now what happens is, because your purpose on the planet, as in if you were the source and you replicated yourself into the world, the purpose of this replication was for you to expand, enhance, adventure, explore, right? But when you create a belief system that it is, for example, in a relationships or love, that love is supposed to be crazy. So anything that is mundane, anything that is boring, anything that is regular, you're not going to enjoy it. And then after 15 or whatever years of life, and you say, oh, my life is so mundane, I have no charm in the marriage, or I have no charm in the relationships, because you have developed the benchmark of experiencing that being crazy in love. I don't know wherever you got that. So we all have these beliefs about money. If you ask money, I want you to I want you to reflect back into your childhood, into your family system. And I want you to think about what kind of belief did you grow up with, thinking about money, thinking about relationships, thinking about women, thinking about, how important for you in a middle-class family it is to be secure, and these belief systems and ideas that we download from the parents or from the peers or from the society, they kind of create a belief system, and then we are forced to perceive our observed reality from those binoculars. If that's making any sense to you guys. Everyone's quiet.
You just burst our bubble, Karthik. Now you just told all of us women that we are not supposed to, love is not about being crazy in love. So I think all of us ladies have suddenly felt that, damn, this is not fair. And whatever you said about men, okay, agreed. We are all women here. Trust me, we work double hard. We not only perceive, but we work really hard for everything we do. So, coming to my next question, actually, is to do with the same thing about relationships that you just spoke about. You know, I think all of you ladies will relate to me on this one, because every time I have a fight with my husband, he keeps saying, "Tu kyun aise sochti hai yaar? I didn't mean it. You are perceiving it wrong." I think most of you ladies, if all of you out there have have experienced the same thing, please put your hands up. Because should I be changing this perception to avoid all these arguments within, the marriage life, or should I just leave it be? And if I want to change it, how can I change it?
See, in order to change your perception, you will have to work on changing or transforming your belief system about marriage, your expectation about marriage. So because you're approaching at it from already a preconceived notion about marriage, because it takes two to tango. So he's also there in the marriage, or but can you experience life from other person's perspective? Can you experience life putting yourself into other person's shoes? You cannot, because every individual is a product of billions of experiences they've had in their life. Whatever happened in their life, they felt something, they learned something, and you're a product of all of that learned behavior. And whatever you're doing in an action is a consequence of all those experiences. So you can never imagine to put yourself in other person's shoes. You can try, but this is the whole purpose for the source or God to give you a life where you could, have an individualistic experience. So, for example, I want you to think about it, okay? If you were God and you're the source, now from one, you've decided to be many because you wanted to touch, you wanted to feel, you wanted to explore, you wanted to expand, you wanted to enjoy adventure, right? You wanted there to be a shape or a form. So what you do from your own energy, you draw the energy and you create a video game. Okay. Now, in order for the video game to work, you need to have characters in that video game, right? And then drawing from your own energy, you create an avatar or you create a character of, let's say Ljubljana or Sujata or, and then so that it is an individualistic experience, you draw consciousness. And you give and you project forth consciousness into the character. Now you're not just one point of perspective; you're 2 points of perspective. So you are the God who's sitting on the couch and chilling and relaxing and observing this video game being there, and then you're also an individual character in that video game. Which is one Neeta, another player is Shalini or Pooja or Rohit, Amit. So you cannot experience what the other person's experiencing. You can try. So, I would recommend that changing your perception would require you to change your belief system, your understanding about marriage. This would require for you to go back into the childhood and understand or introspect what you believed about relationships, whether it came from whether it came from how your parents interacted among each other, or whether it came from how your siblings were with you, or whether it came from what, probably the movies or, the first interaction you had with man. So anything that happened to you, in your childhood kind of created an impression. And this impression over the years, it keeps solidifying, and then becomes a belief system or a perception or just a way of looking at things. If that makes any sense to you.
Can I ask a question there, please?
Oh, sorry. Yes, please.
Neeta, you're on mute.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm trying to recap what you just said. You said to change the perception, I need to look around my environment and assimilate other things which I am conditioned to look at, go beyond that? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, so yes, in a way, yes. But first, I would like you to detach yourself from the perspective, from your perception. So if you break down the process of perception, you are an individual which is perceiving things. And perception doesn't necessarily mean it's the ultimate reality. So not all the people in the world would agree that relationships are terrifying, or love hurts, or men are dogs, or whatever. So this perception is individualistic, right? So something must have happened for you to form that perception, right?
Got it. Yeah.
So now when you understand that this is not the universal truth, there could be more to it, then you have the ability to look at it very objectively. And yes, it would require for you to go back. See, it's very simple. If you give me a topic, I can do it with you right now. So if you want to do that, we can try.
Okay, you mean give a personal topic or something like that?
Whatever.
I give you my perception.
Sure, anything that you are challenged with, or anything that you feel that this is happening to you.
Yeah. Okay, let me just give you an instant. So let's say, no, let's not just say, I am 6.5 and I've lost my dad, and I really do not know what okay, so the reality of my life is we are 4 siblings. We were 4 siblings. Mom, a young widow, dad gone, dad being in the army. So he used to, be a non-family station. Now, technically speaking, we were staying with our grandparents. Technically speaking, I ought not to have any experience whatsoever. You said, now from the age of 0 to 8, I ought not to have any experience on what a family living together, how it evolves, how it interacts. But then I find that I have very strong conviction, that being there. So I'm trying to understand, do I have such strong conviction about family unity or being a family a person because I didn't have it? I mean, it is so. I mean, how do I understand this? I know you can see it because it's so much more easier for you to be able to comprehend my situation, and it's really difficult for me to comprehend my situation. So
okay,
it would be great if you give me a pointer.
It's a very good example that you've given. See, so you are raised in a country where we pay a lot of emphasis, we put in a lot of equity in family values, right? In family systems.
Right,
but if you move to a country, maybe Slovenia or Scandinavia, Slovakia, wherever, and all of a sudden you're a family person who puts in a lot of equity in family. I'm a doer. I'm gonna please everyone. I want to get everyone together. Family business, but when you move over there, to aap kya dekhte ho? Everyone is disconnected with their family. They go there, they meet once a month or twice a month. They talk over the phone, maybe once a fortnight. So now you have a sense of now you're conflicted about your own reality of family values, right? So when I say it is your individual experience, it is not this. It doesn't really mean that it can be a family system. It can be coming from the environment also. Maybe you growing up, you looked at other people who had functional families, who worked together, at one place and time, and their interaction with each other was as a whole family, and maybe looking at that, and you wished for it to happen to you, so could be coming from there. It doesn't have to necessarily be coming from the family.
Absolutely. Yeah, got it. Very much so. So what I was lacking, I picked it up from my environment, which I thought was the best, and adopted that as my own, is what you're saying, right?
Yes.
Okay.
See, there are always 2 or 3 ways of looking at it, and it's very individualistic in nature. And to be honest with you, it really comes from the past. I mean, when I say past, I mean past lives. So what happens is, if you're 5 years old, okay, if you have a child who's 5 years old and he's trying to tie his shoe knot, and I give this example very often because it's very simple and very easy to understand, and he's unable to do that. And quickly his mother comes and ties up the lace for him, right? Now, what do you think he believes? What do you think he's downloading from this situation?
He's downloading the fact that he's not capable of tying his own shoelace. He needs somebody to do it for him.
Yes, that's one. But what is the other possibility?
The role of a woman to do that.
The role of a woman to do that. Very good.
No, so
It
the
can-
possibility
there is-
he can chill and relax, and there is somebody who will do it for him.
Yes, he can get lazy, and he can understand that, everything in life is comfortable. He can also understand, oh, I'm loved, I'm cared for. So this is very individualistic in nature.
Got it.
This comes from, so whatever we are today, it happens, we are a product of everything that happened to us in the ages of 0 to 10. Based on the interaction we have with our parents, or the interaction they had within themselves, or our environmental, when I mean the environment, I mean the immediate environment, your friends, your family, could be your peers or school.
So Karthik, I have a question for you. From what you just said, the inference for that child to tie the shoelace could go two ways. Either he could get lazy, or he would be happy, feel loved and cared for. Correct? So it's either of these two. But what would form him to go into one direction, whichever it may be?
Very interesting. So
In this perception, what would make him become either lazy and think that
this can, so I'll give you an example. So I worked with a client. She had a problem with water. She had a fear, paranoia of water. And we went to one incident when we did a regression, and we went to one incident in her life where she was swimming, and her parents, her mother, left her for a quick minute, I think for a bathroom break or something. And then she felt really abandoned. And then she started drowning in water. Okay. Now, this is sort of a trigger. And we addressed that issue. We went there, we did whatever the process is to, resolve that energy or block that was created. And then after a few months later, she called me again. She came back again. She said, well, you know what, that issue is still coming up. I'm still, fearful of water. Then we did a past life regression. So I took her in one of the incidents in life where she drowned of dying. Now what happened is she drowned of dying, and the water incident happened to her in this life. So it kind of solidified that impression that she was already carrying from the past. So if something is happening to a child at the age of 2 or 3, number one thing is that, what, it doesn't matter what is happening in your life, you own 100% responsibility of everything that's happening in your life, because this life is your creation. Whether you do it consciously, unconsciously, or subconsciously, it is your doing, right? So what steers that child into making him believe about himself that he's incapable or that he's loved is going to be his past life impression that is governing or dictating. It's sitting in the energy system, producing some energy. So vibration se utpan hui. Vibration gave birth to energy. Energy gives birth to your physical matter. Whether that's really physical in nature or just an experience.
Could you expand on that? Vibration gives birth to
energy.
Vibration gives birth to energy, and energy gives birth to
matter. Yeah, your physical reality, or now today quantum science, quantum physics also explains this beautifully.
Yes.
Nita, could you come in?
Could you elaborate on the shloka of this? It sounded very interesting, Karthik. I want to hear the entire shloka.
No, so if you look at any religion, if you look at Sanskrit, they will say nad, they will say nad bindu. Nad means the most subtlest part of sound. Okay. If you look at they call it Jyoti and Shruti. Shruti again is, a form of sound. So everything originates from a vibration. In 2005, there's a research where, scientists, they've been trying to break matter down for a very long time. First, they broke it down into electrons, neutrons, protons, which was the standard physics model. And then they further broke the proton into neutrons and neutrinos and quarks and so on and so forth. Every few years, they have something new coming up. So now they have something called the Higgs boson, which essentially gives weight to anything that is physical to matter, basically. So what happened is when they observed the smallest particle of matter, they realized that it is not solid. It is a vibration. And that vibration is so fast that it appears to be solid. Okay? And saints and mystics have been saying it forever. Kan kan mein Bhagwan hai, aapne suna hai. We all grew up listening to this. Har sarvattam vyapt hai means it is in essence everything and is in everything. So this is why they say vibration gives birth to energy and energy gives birth to matter.
So to keep this matter in a state of more positive, more the perception going in the very positive direction, is it something that you need to do for it, like consciously do like a breathing or being aware? Because I think in this lockdown we've all spoken a lot about all these things. So to keep the vibration going in a more positive direction, what exactly do you think we need to do, and how does it affect the perceptions of the mind? How could we change that, or how could we make it more positive?
See, your mind, what you're calling your mind is accumulation of experiences and feelings, right? So whatever you feel, so how the nature of the mind is such that, whenever you generate a particular feeling in a particular situation, your mind forms an association between the feeling and the emotion. So for example, if you see a dog and a dog starts chasing you and it barks at you. Now, if you feel scared, so your mind has formed an association between dog barking and you getting scared. So every time, and if it happens a couple or three times, then your default reaction, it will become your mind's path of least resistance, which means आपका mind का वो सबसे easy रास्ता है उसके लिए. So because your mind is kind of habitual, it learns by creating programs. So if something happens to it a couple of three times, it will start taking that path, right? So what you're calling a mind, it is anyway accumulation of associations that you've had with different things. For example, if I ask you to think of a monkey, right? Now, do you have a monkey in your mind? Yeah, Neeta? Yes, no? Okay, tell me.
Yes, lots of them.
Yeah, what color monkey do you have in your mind? You're on mute. Yeah.
Orangutan.
Orangutan. Okay, interesting. So, not everyone would have the same association with the term monkey. Some is thinking, like a cute one. Someone is thinking or imagining like a big one. So it is an accumulation of your associations, right? So how or what you should do to keep it positive is consciously you will have very, very limited power, because conscious mind, modern science कहती है your conscious power is about 12% or 10%. But ancient yogic sciences, they say lesser than 4% is what you have you have your conscious mind. So whatever your thoughts, emotions, and actions that you're generating on a daily basis, they are lesser than 3% conscious in nature. So over 90% of your activity, mental, emotional, and physical, is all subconscious in nature, right? Now, you generate about 55 thoughts a minute, which is about 60,000 thoughts in a day. And I'm going to tell you this, okay? And it's very surprising that over 95% of your thoughts are from day before. So if you look at your last 1 week or 10 days, you will realize that you've not really thought of anything new, and this is the nature of the mind. कि एक thought आएगा वो उसी को चलाता रहेगा. You know, so you're really thinking about the basic stuff. And anyway, what can you think about? You sitting here, you can't think about, you know, an information that you don't know. For example, if I ask you to tell me a chemical composition of, you know, a dinosaur, you don't know because you've not read about it, right? So what can you really think about? Something which has gone into your system. In order to change how you perceive the world or how to become positive is not a conscious endeavor. You can do it consciously, you can make yourself be more alert, but I would say you would have to work on more of the subconscious mind. So by saying that, I mean, you will have to find out what stops you from being positive rather than trying to be positive.
Okay, so I have someone here who wants to ask you a question. That's Isha Sukhi. Lubena, I think you might have to let her in. Isha Sukhi is...
Nobody's in the waiting room. I mean, are they waiting to get in?
No,
Isha
I'm
is
there.
here.
Hi,
Isha is here.
sorry.
Isha is
Hi,
here.
hi.
Isha is here.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks, Neeta, for letting me in on this question. I had a very simple question, and I really thank you, Karthik. I think you've thrown a lot of light on this entire subject because there's so many kind of factors and, permutations and combinations. And, there's so many situations that, this kind of question does occur to you quite often and then you don't really have all the answers. But my question was very simple. Sometimes in, day-to-day life, how does one really realize that their behavior could be their perception and not a reality, especially when the behavior could be harmful to them and others? For instance, many times you have people in your family or close friends, who you sometimes just want to advise for their good when you see that they're doing something or doing on the wrong path. And then they immediately react in a way that kind of gets very misconstrued, and they don't really look at what you're trying to say, but they look at things the way they have had, in basis their past experiences or basis something that they perceive it to be. So how does one really kind of understand, which could be me, myself included as well, that, a lot of times this could be a perception and not really the truth, and something that, I could change in my behavior so that it also leads to a harmony in my relationships, whether it's with family or with friends. So it's just, that I just want to kind of understand that.
Okay, so Isha, does that happen very often with you?
This happens a lot with, certain close people. It could be like a sibling. It could be someone who's a close friend of mine. It happens where, and especially in the last 2 years, Karthik, I think all of us have gone through so much anxiety with the whole pandemic and lockdown. And a lot of times, people have also lost jobs, the things that are kind of going wrong in many people's lives, including people whom I know who are close to me. And what happens is, sometimes you just want to kind of help them. You don't really know if that help is right or wrong, but you just try to reach out and, when they come to you. And then what happens is at times it gets misconstrued where they think that you're trying to put them down or trying to say something negative, and you're actually trying to say something positive. So we don't know whether it's like my mistake or is it the person's mistake who's, like misunderstanding what I'm trying to say. So I'm just trying to understand whether it's myself or the other person. How do we know when, how do we know that this is not really something that is, happening in reality, but maybe I'm perceiving it to be that someone is trying to put me down when that person is genuinely trying to help me? It's as simple as that.
Okay. So two things. Number one is what you are perceiving and what is happening is the same. It's never different, by the way.
Okay.
So I never say that. I never meant that what you're perceiving is not true. I'm saying what you're perceiving is 100% true, but what you're perceiving is your projection that has come forth.
Okay.
So I want to ask you this question now. What is your belief about the people that are close to you? How do you see them?
I see them as fairly confident, people who are successful in their own right, but at times, I have recently been seeing them a bit lost because of what's happening around them. And then when they reach out to you and you try to kind of just tell them, give them kind of a direction, it's kind of sometimes as a snapping back, saying that, oh, we think you're trying to put us down. It's actually not like that. We are smarter than what you think we are. But I'm not trying to say you're not smart. I'm trying to say that maybe you can take advantage of this opportunity. But no, I know better than you. So there's just suddenly like this entire defense mechanism that comes
Right.
across.
What,
Right?
are you someone who does you work with people's consciousness, or are you into life coaching or anything?
No, actually, I am not in either of it. I'm like a normal person who is just
Even if
running
you're
my
a normal
business.
person,
And
I'll explain something to you. The moment you work with
Sorry to
people,
interrupt. Karthik's voice is cracking, so could everybody go on mute, please?
yeah. So what happens is the moment you work with people's consciousness, okay, and you have to come from a space of being absolutely neutral. Whatever they're going through in life doesn't mean they're lost. So you are already approaching it from a space of judgment that they are lost. So they are lost means they need your help to navigate them. No, that's not true. They are exactly wherever they need to be. If they were not lost, they would not be able to find or navigate themselves into a space of light. So if you come from it with a preconceived notion that they are lost and I want to help them, then you have, the process of helping is already disconnected. So they will never receive you in the way that you meant to be, that you, mean to help them. So you have to come at it from a space of compassion and being absolutely in acceptance of or who they are or whatever they are going through in life.
fair enough. Thank you so much.
Can I come in with a question here, Nita? Sorry, I'm just asking. So are you saying we come to have, we don't have to have judgment? To have clearer perception, we have to put judgment aside? मतलब पूरा हटा ही दें?
Absolutely. Judgment to aapke, whatever you have, whatever understanding that you have about life is your perspective. It's your perception. Doesn't mean that it's the ultimate truth.
That's a tough one, Karthik.
That's
Back to you, Nita. That's a tough one.
And you know what? I'll tell you why. Because we are conditioned to be like that. We're grown up like that. आप हमारा schooling system देखो, comparison. आप हमारा हर चीज में comparison. Right from the childhood, if you get good marks, you sit on the first bench and you get a picture. If you get bad marks or whatever, you're a poor. Because I know this, I was always a poor student. I only studied at the last day or 2 days before the exam and, passed with very bad numbers. So that being said, competition-driven society. So obviously you're meant to be conditioned. You will have judgment about things. If you will have judgment about your own self, forget about anyone else. You have tons of judgment about yourself because you have tons of expectations out of yourself, which are enforced upon to you by your parents, by your society, by your peers.
Lubina, ये बड़ी धर्म संकट हो गई, Karthik.
Yeah, we'll have to come back to you for a session actually.
So you need to tell us, if that is the case, then how does one overcome, and how does one, what does one do to achieve what you're saying?
See, ideally, I would recommend meditation to everyone. And meditation is a process of not keeping yourself calm and relaxed. It's a byproduct of meditation, right? Meditation is, what are you doing? The fundamental process of meditation is to bring you into a space of silence. Absolutely zero. तो आप क्या कर रहे हो meditation में? आप perceive कर रहे हो चीजों को. You're just being very, very observant. You're being observant of yourself. You're being observant of your thoughts. You're being observant of your emotions. You're being observant about everything that's happening to you physiologically, right? And then you'll realize when you do that, you start becoming observant to the accumulations that your mind has, acquired for itself. आप तब realize करना शुरू करोगे कि मैं जो भी believe करती हूँ, because you see, it is a self-preservation mechanism of the concept of self that we have created. What that really means is कि हमारा एक concept है self का. Okay, so for example, this is Karthik. I am good at this. I am bad at that. I am 6 feet 1 inches tall, or I'm this. So these are all ideas that I have about my personality, which is acquired based on the interaction that I've had with the people around. It is society's influence over me, this personality that is, right? Now this personality to me is sort of the benchmark that I have to interact with the entire world. So I go into a self-preservation mode. अब कुछ भी करके इस आइडेंटिटी को बचाना है ना? तो आप उस पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से देखेंगे तो everything will appear a judgmental, and you will become judgmental. But if you understand that this is just your egos or your identity's self-preservation model, which it is constructed it for itself to be, let's say, to have. So you were a baby, right? Baby did not have any ideas. Baby did not have any values, any belief systems, right? So it started looking around. It started walking around, looking at people, observing, and gathering information. Now, when you started gathering those information, you also had experiences. For example, if your mother went into, let's say, your mom, dad took you to cinema, right? And there were 4 children standing on the line, and you wanted an ice cream, and you didn't get an ice cream, but everyone else had an ice cream. You wanted that ice cream, but they said, no, beta, ye kharab hai, ye nahi khana. है ना? तो अब आप क्या फील कर रहे हो? आप deprived फील कर रहे हो? आप फील कर रहे हो, I'm, depending on who you are as an individual, then they would feel I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. They could feel so many other things, right? So the one thing that would really, really help everyone is to be accepting of yourself and accepting of other people. Because it doesn't matter where you are, doesn't matter what you're doing in life. If you come from a space of this is where I'm exactly meant to be, you will have lesser self-conflicts within yourself. You will have lesser anxiety within yourself. And someone mentioned about anxiety. I think it was Isha. She mentioned we've gone through a lot. Again, aap apna perception project kar rahe ho into reality. Not everyone has gone through a lot. For some people, it has been a good time. Some people have traveled into the mountains. I know so many people who've just moved into the mountains for the last 2 months, 3 months. They're sitting there enjoying. They are completely disconnected from the world. I have been in this situation, and I've been really enjoying for myself. Yes, I have a deep love and compassion for the people who've lost lives and have had troubles. So again, आप अपना experience या अपना belief आपकी reality का project कर रहे हो, and you're claiming it to be a universal truth. So if you want to do something for the society, if you want to do something for the world, okay, and I explain this by giving a very simple example. एक रूम में 4 लोग हैं, ठीक है, और 3 लोग बहुत ज्यादा गुस्से की एनर्जी जनरेट कर रहे हैं. They are feeling a lot of anger. What do you think the 4th person is going to feel? It's going to have some sort of negative energy, right? Some sort of negative emotions or whatever, right? Now, at the same time, this room, this house that you live in, the building that you live in, the society that you live in, or the city that you live in, is all a bigger version of your room, So if you manage your thought process and your emotions effectively, there is no need for, if just all there needs to be one person in every family who's deeply peaceful and in love and in compassion of everything around them. And there is, and I'm literally telling you, because there's a very well documented research on this, there is something called a Maharishi effect. आप Google कीजिए इसको. Maharishi effect ये claim करता है कि 1% of the population of any city, if they turn inward, if they start meditating, so the crime rate drops down. And it is something that has been practiced in America throughout. A lot of states in America have used this as a tool, and they're using meditation as a tool in schools, because they support this with very well documented research. So all it takes for one person to be completely accepting and peaceful, and this is what you project into the world.
Thank you. It's going to be a tough. It's going to be a मतलब मुश्किल रहेगा कार्तिक.
नहीं, देखो मुश्किल तो सब कुछ है. जब आप 2 साल के थे, चलना भी आपके लिए बहुत मुश्किल था. So I'm speaking about 50 words a minute. How are you and look at the whole chemistry and physics in play. It's going into your mind, quickly getting interpreted, and you're understanding the meaning. This was never an easy process. You took about, I don't know, 7 or 8 years or 10 years of schooling to learn this. Everything is a matter of practice.
So, Lubina, we have very little time, and I think Rupa has a question. Rupa is
there are a few questions in the chat box as well.
So could you read that?
Okay, I would like to take that. My question to Karthik is, something is happening as a repeated pattern in our life. How do we change that?
Yes.
So, this very simple, and I would like you to think, and like everyone to think of it as as your body, as body or mind or emotions as your best friend. Okay. So, because the whole process of this life, the piece of life is survival. Okay, self-preservation. Sara challenge usi ka, self-preservation ka. Garmi lagegi aapko, immediately you'll start sweating because the body is trying to preserve itself, right? So, whether your emotion or whether your, whatever thoughts or anxiety or whatever you're having, it is your life's way or whatever that you have inside, the source. It's way of communicating to you that you need to shift something around in your life. It's a sign. It is never a bad sign. Ab kya hoga? Aap jaise, if you step onto the road and you stand there in front of a moving car, which is, a speeding car, what's going to happen? Even if you do nothing, just look at the car and you put in a big amount of distance, your palms will become sweaty, aapka heart rate upar jayega, aapki short breath ho jayegi. These are all your body's symptoms to tell you that, oh, please take some action, you need to move, right? So whenever a repeated pattern is happening in your life, number one, go back to rule number one, that you are the creator of everything that is happening into your life, okay? Because God's world or universe or whatever you want to call it, it's not the world of a dictatorship. No one's going to impose, something to you that you don't want to receive. It is an opportunity for you to change. How you're going to bring in that change, there are tens and thousands of ways to it. Aap pehle wo patterns recognize karo. What are those patterns that are reappearing into my life? This will require a lot of introspection. You will need to assess that what is the hidden message that the self that is within you is trying to teach you, or what is that course of action that it is forcing you to go and take. This is something that you can do if it is, but know this, okay? Everything that is happening into your life is a consequence of the energy that you are radiating from within you. If you are someone who is, you have people who are cheating you, people who are betraying you, then you don't trust yourself enough, and you are generating an energy of mistrust within yourself. And this is why you're going to invite those people. I'm not sure if this is what was happening in your life, but I give a random example. Any of the questions that we have?
Yes, we do. I'm just going to quickly read them for you because I know we're running out of time. And that was a tough one, Karthik. I mean, to hear that it's a manifestation of what we are kind of putting out, that really has to help. I mean, makes us have to rethink what we're putting out.
How do I change one's beliefs? To change one's belief is not a simple process, depending on how strong the belief is. Okay, so Sangeeta, belief, like I said, it is always deep, very very deep rooted. तो आपको क्या करना पड़ेगा? आपको contrary evidence ढूंढना पड़ेगा. For example, if you're someone who believes that market में recession है, लोगों की job जा रही है. So now try and find contrary evidence to your statement or the belief that you have. Try and find out people, if there are people in your environment who have very stable jobs, who've given a promotion, who are kind of enjoying a very qualitative life, and I'll tell you what, yes, the economy is crashing. I know at least 5 businesses which are really, really flourishing. So yes, economy is in recession for people who believe that economy is in recession. And again, nature will force you into taking action, because the whole experience, the whole purpose of life is meant to enjoy, to be joyous, to explore, to expand, to have adventure, you know. So I think this is all we have for now.
There is one last question, if I can put that in. There is
Sure.
a major focus on artificial intelligence. It is the usage of machine perception along with human perception. How does that work?
Well, you know, to be honest with you, I wouldn't know how that works. I'm not a scientist or not someone who's created it, but I can tell you human mechanism, how it works. Human being, I think it is the most intelligent and the sophisticated mechanism that exists in nature. Contrary to what we believe that life is happening on the outside and we are experiencing within, it is much, reverse of that. Everything that is happening outside is a reflection of what you're projecting, right? So life is happening from you, through you, to you. When I say from you, what that means is आप एक thought generate करते, वो thought एक energy को create करता है, वो energy एक pattern को या एक physical reality को birth देती है. A lot of people call it law of manifestation or law of attraction. You know, different people have different names for it, but this is the ultimate truth. You are going to meet people who are going to correspond to whatever energies that you are radiating out in the universe. So if you look at the biology of a human being, if you look at the chemistry of human being, you know, today, the modern psychiatry, or, you know, they say कि depression का cause जो है वो serotonin होता है, you know, depletion in serotonin or dopamine. But I don't see it that way. In my line of work that I've seen is, it is a symptom. Like I say, your body is giving you symptoms, but it is not the cause. Cause is something that is always deep-rooted.
I hope that answers your question, Malu.
Thanks.
We'll go.
Need another session, but thank you so much.
We will. Thank you, Karthik. Thank you, Neeta. I'd request Temina to come in to do the official vote of thanks.
Thank you, Lubina. Thank you, therapy. An attitude of gratitude affects miraculous healing in the mind and body, nourishes the heart, and adds new depth to relationships. According to Saint Ambrose, who lived many years ago, no duty is more urgent than that of returning thanks. So I'm delighted to have been given the pleasant task of delivering the vote of thanks on behalf of Flow Mumbai. Karthik, it was a pleasure to have you today, and a special mention to your discussion on perception that I personally connected to, and at the same time showed us a very easy way to analyze it. I especially would like to thank Neeta Lulla for her constant support and being the force that helped us get Karthik on board on this event and put it together and moderating this event so beautifully. Special thanks to Zain Ali, a silent supporter in coordinating this event. And thank you all Flow members for attending today's event. Have a great evening, and I will see you all on the 8th of June. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Neeta. Had a lovely time. I know you have another.
Thank you, Karthik. We have loads of questions, but we'll do that later.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karthik. Thank you. Thank you, Flo.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.